Hello and welcome to NI Chambers Studio Session. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Matthew Hall, who is CEO of Belfast City Airport. And Belfast City Airport have just published their master plan up until 2040. It looks really exciting, but we're going to hear more of that from Matthew himself. So Matthew, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure. Afternoon.
Afternoon. And we're going to start just by hearing a bit about you. You've been at the airport as CEO now for 5 years, is that right?
Nearly 5 years.
Nearly
It'll be
5?
5 years in August, yeah.
In August, okay. And started off life in the aviation aircraft industry and then jumped ship for a wee while, I believe, to running a number of gyms, a large number of gyms right across the UK, and then back to London City Airport and then to Belfast. So just tell us, a bit about your experience and a bit about why you came to Belfast in the first place.
Yeah, no, I'm sort of frighteningly, it's a long time now. So I've done 34 years, I think, in the industry now. Wow. Bit of time at David Lloyd clubs for a couple of years, which is great.
Other gyms are available, by the way.
Indeed. Did 15 years in the airline space, United Airlines and American Airlines, which has set me up well, I think, they are now my key business partners.
Okay.
So understanding their priorities is key. Also in aviation technology and distribution, and then London City Airport and now Belfast City. So decent breadth, and it's served me well so far.
So been there nearly 5 years, and just tell us how you found it in the last 5 years, and then we're going to look ahead after that.
Sure, it's been a 5 years of transition. Belfast and Northern Ireland has got so much to offer. That was the key attraction for me.
That's what drew you here in the first place.
Yeah, I'm very much a glass is half full person for Northern Ireland. I think the ambition, what it's got to offer, I think in some areas it's still a fairly well-kept secret. So I think we need to keep uncovering that and growing more. And just the people and the whole atmosphere, I think, was a really exciting prospect. We were mid-pandemic at that point.
That's right. So it was 2021.
August 21.
Summer 2021, yes.
So to put that in context, we had 13% of pre-pandemic volume at that point. So there's
Challenging
really been
time to start.
Indeed, yeah. So there's been sort of three stages really to my tenure, and one was survival. Frankly, every business was struggling through the pandemic, so that was by no means certain. So we've achieved that. Really, really key. It's a key infrastructure asset, obviously, for Northern Ireland, and the economic ambition is dependent on connectivity, which I'm sure we'll come back to. Yeah. And then building back the airport. We're a similar size now, a little bit bigger this year than we were in 2019. But
in terms of passenger numbers?
In terms of passenger volume.
Yeah.
But we're a very different airport in that people will realise we had all our eggs in one basket from an airline perspective pre-pandemic with Flybe. Obviously, Flybe went into administration. We've built that passenger volume.
We all remember that.
Indeed. And that connectivity back. So we've got a much broader portfolio of carriers now, which is great for the consumer. And obviously, in terms of a financial risk perspective, much healthier.
And what would you say is really unique about Belfast City Airport? It's 5 minutes from the city centre. That's probably one of the unique attributes. But what else would you say is unique?
I think the proposition overall, obviously the proximity to the city centre, getting people and our customers in and out of the airport safely, primarily, but also efficiently. And that whole proposition and the people, frankly, fantastic team of people that I inherited there, amazing amount of experience. We've brought in considerable new talent as well to balance that over the last 5 years. So as a team delivering that proposition, everyone's very passionate and proud to work there. I think that we have an internal campaign at the moment that's launching around being I am BCA, because very much people all feel, our business partners, people that are employed at the airport, really feel part of the business delivering that proposition day in, day out.
And how many people work in the airport, around the airport, and how many jobs would you say you're directly facilitating?
There's 1,100 people there or thereabouts employed on and around the airport. We employ just under 100 directly, but those 1,100 are across all the business partners and people that are involved in running the airport day to day. Overall, across Northern Ireland, we support around 12,000 jobs in terms of economic contribution and around 800 million of annual GVA.
That's pretty impressive, but big plans ahead.
Big plans ahead.
to double a lot of those figures, if I've read the master plan correctly. And but I think before we get into what's in it, just I think give us a sense of what a master plan is and why it's important for an airport to think ahead to 2040.
Sure. Government guidelines are put in place to. It's not a statutory process, but each airport is recommended to put a master plan together, which gives a future gauge as to their developmental needs and plans. That's our master plan, which we published in draft in September and formally in March. So that looked at what does the airport need to be in 2040. We looked at a 15-year timeline.
Is that pretty typical for a master plan in an airport context?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
That's that in rough terms, 10, 15, 20-year periods. Our last master plan was published in 2006, a little bit longer, but then you had the hiatus because of the pandemic and so on. So it was timely to do that. The way we've gone about that is to look at the connectivity needs overall for the island of Ireland and Northern Ireland as well. This is not about an airport that just wants to grow for the sake of it. It's very much figuring out the role we play today. What does that role need to be in 2040 in a market that is anticipated to be double the size in terms of air connectivity, both to and from the island of Ireland as a whole, but also to and from Northern Ireland by air. So air journeys are predicted to double by 2040 by an independent forecast.
So in 14 years they're predicted to double, which
Correct.
is that's just amazing. And what does that mean for you then in terms of the master planning? What are you saying in terms of the number of passengers you need to create facilities for by that stage?
Sure. Well, there's around 11 million air journeys to and from Northern Ireland today annually. We cater for 2.5 million of those. By 2040, we think we'll need to cater for 7 million journeys. That's us playing our part. So it's doing and really playing the role that Belfast City plays today for the market, but in a market that is that much bigger. Other airports need to play their part too. So that our job is to provide the infrastructure and the connectivity that Northern Ireland needs to unlock its economic ambitions.
And you not only provide connectivity to GB, but also to some hubs as well, where people can then hop on another plane and go further afield. Is that right?
Yeah, indeed. So 70% of the air travel demand is to and from GB. That's really what we do. 95% of the network that we provide serves the core demand of Northern Ireland. But you're right, we also, so as part of that, serve Heathrow, Gatwick, increasingly Manchester, Schiphol, which gives you that global connectivity and hundreds of destinations beyond.
And what would be the split between, tourism and business people? Do you know that?
It's pretty evenly split now. Prior to the pandemic, as people would expect, it was a little bit more business travel versus leisure. But now, in terms of people are going on holiday, visiting friends and families, as well as business traffic, both inbound and inbound, is pretty balanced.
So if we're going to grow to that number of passengers per year, then what does that mean for the actual airport itself? What is it going to look like in 2040?
Yeah, well, there's two aspects to that. Firstly, we'll need to make sure we've got the right infrastructure on the ground. We don't need to enlarge the site of the airport. We don't need to increase our noise footprint. The noise contour and controls that we have today are still appropriate. We can grow within that. We'll need to increase the terminal building and create a new world-class asset, airfield infrastructure. There's opportunity as well to put additional commercial opportunities on the site in terms of hotels, EV convenience, hubs, and so on. And also making sure that there's a multimodal public transport hub that encourages people being able to get to the airport increasingly by bus and by taxis and pedestrians, as well as in terms of people cycling. But also, most excitingly, we've worked with TransLink to look at the feasibility for connecting the airport by rail. That would make Belfast City the first airport on the island of Ireland to be connected directly by rail. That would be transformational.
It would. And I know many of us talk about that being available to us. I think many of us would like to see that. So it's a new halt that you would like to see there, right at the airport itself.
Yes, the favoured feasibility option was an additional halt that would be opposite the newly developed terminal. We would then build a connected walkway covered to protect you from the Belfast weather.
Thank goodness for that.
And allow people to directly connect with rail, short walk over to the new halt, and then directly connect into the fabulous new Grand Central Station. And that will allow us to transform how people get to and from the airport. It'll be a fantastic first impression for Northern Ireland as a whole. World-class,
Absolutely.
next-generation asset. And importantly, takes proportionally cars off the road.
Yep.
From an ESG perspective and from being a responsible business, we want to make sure we balance the impact of any growth to make sure we can provide the connectivity, but also make sure that people have a great proposition.
Now, I've seen some of the drawings, which look really impressive, and it looks like a really beautiful building as well for the future. But there's as much in terms of the actual building, the actual terminal, as there is in terms of the aircraft too. So more aprons and easier taxiing, etc. On the air side as well as the passenger side. So it's that mix.
Correct. Yeah. So we need to make sure there's obviously terminal facilities there that cater for that kind of growth in a staged basis over time, but also operation to make sure continues to be a good proposition in terms of additional aircraft parking stands, taxiways.
Aprons, I believe.
Indeed,
Keep
aprons.
us dry again on the other side.
Indeed. And so all of that comes together. So the infrastructure is important, as well as making sure that we can provide additional aircraft movements that will feed that passenger demand growth. So we'll need to look at our planning agreement over time in terms of absolute movements. We have 48,000 movements today. The master plan sets out that we think we'll need to accommodate 61,000 movements by 2040. So a smaller proportional growth in movements versus passengers, but that's because there'll be a higher proportion of next generation aircraft.
And what does that mean, next generation aircraft?
Next generation aircraft will be quieter and cleaner. So that allows us to live within those.
Bigger, smaller, similar size?
In terms of the overall gauge of aircraft, on average, we're anticipating that will increase by 2040 because we'll have a higher proportion of higher capacity aircraft, but still having that balance between turboprop aircraft and jet aircraft is going to be important. But the blend of that allows us to live within our existing noise controls, but also cater with proportionally less movements for additional passenger demand.
And importantly, that can all be done without a new runway. Is that correct?
Correct. Now, I'm before my time, but I understand that was mooted sometime historically, which was controversial. We don't need an extended runway. We can accommodate the future demand, we think, within the existing runway length with the infrastructure development that I've described.
So this has been out for extensive consultation now for quite a few months, and I know that that means communities, stakeholders, partners, etc., politicians. So what has been the response that you've got?
So we launched this at Stormont in mid-September. We've had really strong, consistent support across a range of stakeholders, as you said, politicians, business organisations and trade bodies, customers, both airline as well as passengers in the terminal. But most importantly, we've consulted and held person-to-person events in our community and a range of different events and listened to what people think about the plans. We've proposed it in draft and we've received that feedback, and that's formed our final master plan that was published last month. Generally speaking, really strong excitement and enthusiasm for understanding why we are proposing what we need to do. That unlocks the connectivity that Northern Ireland needs. Also, some people, frankly, were concerned about the development and noise, and we've listened to that, and that's why we'll make sure that we accommodate that growth in a responsible manner, making sure we live up and accelerate, actually, in a number of areas, our environmental responsibilities, and also live within that noise contour.
And what were people most excited about?
The rail halt was pretty exciting for people because I think they see the logic of, well, there's a railway line right opposite the terminal. Grand Central has just been invested in. It's a straight shot, straight in 5 minutes by rail. And part of my background is London City. The DLR being added to London City
Been
over
there many
time
times.
was transformation in itself. I think at the point I left, 73% of passenger volume to and from London City came via the DLR. We can achieve transformation in terms of how people get to and from the airport.
And are you going to have to stop operations while some of this work happens, or can you do both side by side?
No, we can do both side by side. The airport will keep operating. The 2040 master plan is the vision of what the airport will be like in 2040. Clearly, between now and then, we'll have to, we respect the planning process. We'll go through that at the appropriate time. But that will be a phased development, and it unlocks tremendous benefit. The private potential investment here is around £200 million on the site. That growth in job support rises from 12,000 to 23,000, we think, over that period. And in terms of GVA contribution, from 800 million to 1.7 billion by 2040.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's huge opportunity here that drives and enables an NI economic contribution. Employment on the site, we think, would double, so an additional 1,100 people or thereabouts. And also we'll be able to do more in the community as well. So we do a lot today. We've contributed £700,000 worth of contribution across a range of projects over the last number of years. We've already committed outside our master plan plans to rise that to £1 million over time. But as and if we're able to enlarge and become a more significant business, we will be able to move more significant in the community.
I mean, I've seen some examples of the things that you've been doing to invest in communities, but you also have big plans for apprenticeships as well going forward.
Yes. As part of the employment growth on and around the site, we will enlarge the existing apprenticeship scheme we have at the moment in terms of our high flyers apprenticeship across fire and IT today, but we'd expand that cross-functionally, but it would also contribute around 15% of that additional employment on and around the site, which is 1,100 in total, as I've said.
So huge opportunities
Really
both for the economy and for local people. And you mentioned 200 million. So where's that money going to come from?
That's private investment, so no public money involved. We've got a very supportive shareholder. Obviously, they're well aware of the plans that we've put in place. And so, we've worked closely with TransLink on the feasibility for the rail link. That the rail link is excluded from the private investment because that is part of this, not part of our site. But we would absolutely invest in terms of the connectivity to that new halt. But everything else, all private.
And there must be some challenges, though. So what do you see as some of the challenges ahead and barriers that we might have to get over to make sure that this can be delivered by 2040?
Yes, well, we want to make sure that we do this in a balanced way. So we'll make sure that we, in terms of the environmental considerations and noise, we continue to listen to any feedback there and make sure that we balance any development moving forward. Being frank, the planning process, we'll have to consider that at some point.
Of course.
Doesn't have a great track record in Northern Ireland historically, so I think we would need to make sure that moves forward, and we've got confidence that that can develop.
Well, obviously, we as a chamber are working to support planning reform as well, with the report published last year on how that should be done.
Yeah, and indeed, the absolutely, and the engagement we've had, but as well that we've had thus far with government, has been really supportive and has encouraged us. But we have one eye on that over time, and I think just getting stuff done over time is a big undertaking. We want to make sure we can deliver that connectivity at the right pace, at the right time, to deliver what Northern Ireland needs. Because there are consequences of not having that connectivity provision in that foreign direct investment, economic growth, increasing the attractiveness of Northern Ireland as a whole will falter if people can't get here.
Yeah, this is all about increasing connectivity.
Indeed.
And we are an island, so absolutely critical for the economy and its growth. We have to talk about the situation that we find ourselves in globally at the minute, I think. Obviously, the issues with oil and potentially aviation fuel. So how difficult do you see that being for these plans ahead?
Well, like a lot of people, I don't have a crystal ball on the future and what Mr. Trump might do next. What I can tell you is thus far we've had no direct impact. The business continues to operate as normal. It's busy. We've got no immediate jet fuel supply concerns. Beyond that, we'll keep a watching brief. But for now, it's business as usual. We're obviously a responsible business. We'll keep our eye on things. But at the moment, we've had no direct impact, and we're not immediately anticipating anything.
Well, that's absolutely really reassuring. When I looked at the master plan, I see sustainability mentioned hundreds of times within that plan. Tell us a bit more about how you see the future sustainable airport, and how is that baked into the master plan?
Yeah, the master plan, going back to sort of the aircraft and next generation aircraft, if we need to make sure that our airline customers are confident in being able to grow and deliver the connectivity that's needed, and to therefore invest in next generation aircraft. They're major investments. That is key to making sure that we can deliver connectivity but do it responsibly in terms of the actual air travel. The investment in the infrastructure allows us, just through new building techniques and new materials, allows us to accelerate our net zero ambitions on site. By renewing a lot of stuff that's there today, as well as, I think, the counterbalance by how people get to and from the airport, not only with the opportunity to get people to and from the airport by rail, but also to enlarge and to put in a new multimodal public transport hub in place. So there's just a few sort of high-level examples where you put that together, and it enables us to deliver the connectivity but do it in a responsible way and actually accelerate our net zero ambitions at the same time.
And what about sustainable aviation fuel in the future?
Yeah, well, we're set up to accommodate the mandates that are already put in place. So we provide the infrastructure for the fuel storage that's needed. We can do that today, and we'll make sure that that infrastructure is in place for the increased percentages of SAF as time goes on, moving forward to the next milestone is 2030, I think. So we're ready, and we will continue to be ready.
And what about first steps? When will we see some of this master plan and some of these great ambitions come into fruition?
Well, the master plan is the first step. That is a non-statutory process, as I described earlier. We're respectful of the planning process and planning agreements, so we'll have to now stand back and look at how we would approach that in a phase basis between now and 2040. How do we deliver that vision? And that will rely on us going through the planning process.
So, you've been here for 5 years. Going to turn this back to you as a leader of the airport, and you're going to lead the implementation of this plan. What will that take from you in terms of your leadership style? How do you think you are going to make sure that you deliver this? How are you going to go about it?
I'll try and continue to do what I've done thus far. I think in terms of leadership within our business, a leader's only as good as the team that you have in place. And I'm very fortunate with the team I have that I've inherited, and we've also developed by having that sort of blend of experience and new talent. So that's key. We need to make sure we've got the right team for today as well as for tomorrow. I think having our job day to day, our most important job is to keep everyone safe getting in and out of the airport. Beyond that, it's eyes on the prize in terms of what is our long-term strategy and vision. How do we get there and plot a logical course and make sure that everyone understands their role in getting there? I think if we're well organised like that, then we make a powerful team and we can deliver great things.
Great. And if people want to look at those exciting drawings and see the master plan for themselves, they just go onto your website?
Indeed, it's all available through our website, and they can access the final master plan document, all the feedback from the consultation process, and any other associated documentation around environmental feedback and so on. So it's all there in the public domain for people to study.
It all sounds very exciting in terms of what's ahead of us for the airport. And on behalf of Northern Ireland Chamber, I just wish you and your team all the best in turning this from a master plan into reality.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.